All right. Welcome to Implausible Nature, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this fine Sunday morning.
Way too early, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I think you're the one that chose the earlier time, so I'm going to blame that on you.
No, no. This is what we were always doing. You're like, no, I get to wake up at 8. And
No,
I
I'm pretty
wake
sure
up.
we used to start this at 9 o'clock, my time, and go to 11. But
What else? What else?
it's fine. It's fine. So, as the title says, today we're going to be talking a bit about what is the Black Templar's identity, and I guess it partially will feed into lore, right? But mainly we're talking about on the tabletop, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we hope for, want from the Codex, because we're on the horizon, as GW's thing says. Their what's that called? Roadmap. So, so yeah. So we are gonna talk about that because I think we are after Space Wolves, but before Knights and Grey Knights and whatever. So we'll see. We'll see how that
Yep.
plays out. Hopefully sooner than later, because I'm tired of waiting. And I'm tired of being at the
And
bottom of the win rate list.
yeah. Yeah, my prediction is they'll probably really release the Wolves and the Thousand Sons, um, if not together, pretty close to each other. And then
Yeah.
we'll get a July release.
Yeah.
That's what I would assume is going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, this one's going to be a little bit more informal. We've been out of the Caffeine and Crusade for
Too
a
long.
while. So apologies. It's been a
long.
very busy holiday season and start of the year for both of us. So
Scheduling
we
was
wanted to get
hard and
back
whatnot.
into it.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, we're
So
here.
we're here. We're here. Um, so um, so yeah. So this this was kind of your idea, Bob, as far as the topic. Um, tell me what your thoughts are on what our identity is on the tabletop, and if it's not, what it should be.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I want to talk about this is because I've seen a lot of talk on different social medias, Reddit, YouTube, even the Discords, both the Discords, really about what people feel our identity is, how we should be playing the game, what is our defining piece of, uh, well, really identity is the best. That's why we phrase it that way.
Yeah.
What is it that screams Black Templars? And I really kind of thought about it, and I was like, everyone has their preference on how they play their army, and I know I have my own biases on how I play my lists, in my games. When I started very early on, in third edition when the book came out, obviously we were kind of led a certain direction, and it's mutated over the years. No chaos intended there. Um, so I really kind of want to discuss it and bring it to the community and see what our thoughts are on the identity. So for me, Black Templar are a knightly order. Obviously, we have tenets that we follow in the form of our vows. Abhor the witch, uphold the honor of the emperor, accept any challenge, and the last one. Uh,
Tough
give
or
me,
not.
yeah, so for now, thank you. Oh, blanking me here. So
Can't with you.
it's one of those things where that's where we get the core, but then a lot of people translate that to the gaming table, right? This is what you should have on the board. This is what the army you should play, and sometimes unfairly push that on other players and like, oh, this is the way it should be. I don't think it's necessarily something that we need to do, but with that said, it's kind of like, okay, let's dial back, step back a little bit, and let's kind of just talk about it. I feel like it's something that's worthwhile. It's a fun conversation to really kind of look at, and like I mentioned, it's a nightly order that we have. We enjoy the close combat typically. Sometimes our rules have not really been um, coherent with that goal of close combat. So we've had over the various editions, better or worse versions of this.
Yeah.
Was it seventh, maybe eighth edition, where we had the challenge
Oh yeah,
portion
challenge
of the
mechanic.
rules,
Yeah.
the challenge mechanic, and that was our close combat portion, where we could challenge a character.
That was the
Uh,
dark days of like sixth edition when we were little more than a chapter tactic and a couple of units. So
so yeah, that one wasn't the one of the greater supplements, or I wouldn't even say that. It was just a chapter rule. But um, other people think, hey, well, Black Templars are all about black tide and having as many bodies on the board and just rushing forward and crushing the enemy under our ceramite boots, right?
yeah,
Um, there's obviously the faith portion of it, which has changed over the course of the 20 years that I've been playing Black Templars,
yep,
where it's been we have faith in what the Emperor's doing and wanting to do, and that's presented in the Crusade. But he was never divine, and obviously now that we've had the lore changes, he is now divine to the Black Templars. So that was something that was a little bit of a hiccup for a lot of players, and unfortunately lost a lot of players. But some people really like it. Um, for the purpose of our lore, I like it because I think it fits better with the nightly orders a little bit better.
well, and our and literal our literal name Templars, we're a religious order of knights. Not that we're anything like them, outside of the name, but yeah, I mean, honestly, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. Um, for a long time, when I started after starting 40K, uh, I didn't even know the Astartes didn't look at him as a god, because all the lore, all the like generic, like regular Imperium stuff, like when they talk about the Emperor in like the rule book and stuff like that, refer to him as the God Emperor. So I just assumed that, everybody in the Imperium thought that he was a god. And then when, eventually I found out that no, the Astartes don't believe that, I was like, huh. I was like, well, whatever. And then they were like, yep, Black Templars are now going to be religious. Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's like, there were obviously some changes back in the day when we moved into 6th edition, which 6th and 7th were pretty much the dark times for Black Templars. I didn't play hardly any games then because really didn't like the way that they the game was going or what they did with us lore wise. Um, but but yeah, so that change in and of itself doesn't really bug me that much. We were already our all of our quotes and things, bits of lore from the old fourth edition book were just dripping with religious overtones anyway. So, it makes sense to me. I can buy into it.
Yeah,
I think for me, as far as like the tabletop is concerned, obviously close combat is something that we are supposed to be good at. Um, you know, there's a quote from the old Codex that says something like, you know, they prefer close combat because, face to face with your enemy, you can ensure, that they're defeated. Um, Something along those lines. So I forget the exact quote, but so to me, like having a strong close combat, like being, you know, as good in close combat as like Blood Angels or Space Wolves, to me, I think is important. Um, and then like our unique units, the Crusader Squad, epitomizes um, the the Black Templar sort of knightly knight squire, um, you know, aspect. And I think Crusaders are. I still run Crusaders. I think that they're good. They've been good for most of 10th. I think they're a little too expensive right now, but um, it's it's something that's, you know, I think that needs to be like a core piece of our identity, is that sort of the Crusader Squad, and how it's made up with the neophytes and things like that. Um, so I think that needs to be a core piece of our identity in the new codex. Yeah, Randy, they definitely need to drop them a bit, um, especially the 20 man. They the they 320 for 20 Crusaders is ridiculous. Um, I don't know what the uh, Berserkers, the 20 man Berserkers, are going to cost. But if it's not at least 320, I'm going to be pissed because there's no reason our guys should cost more than theirs when we have literally half the unit has a 4+ save.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's some of the things that that other chapters are starting to get that are very clearly biased against us, and I think that our competitive side of the game here, where 20 man were very obviously penalized for a few tournament wins. I don't know why, because it took them so long to change things like Daka Daka and those other things. Won numerous tournaments, and we win like two or three in the span of a week, and it gets nerfed. So it's like, okay.
Well, and I understand. I'm okay with the 20 man costing a little more than two 10 mans because it does change the dynamic. A 20 man unit accepts buffs from characters and from strats a lot more than a 10 man does. So I'm fine with it costing a little more. Um, but uh, what's the points difference? It's like a 40 point difference, which to me is insane. Let me go double check. Let's see, Primaris Crusader. So yeah, I guess it's a 20 point difference. So 150 versus 320. So that's still a lot. 20 points is a lot. Um, and I just think they're too expensive in general. I think they should go back to 140 and, you know, maybe 300. Um, but yeah, I can see them costing a little bit more. Um, it's just one of those things that it got nerfed because, like you said, uh, couple of couple of team tournaments where they were a bit too oppressive because people were spamming them, um, you know, and yeah, I think it was too much. And then adding onto that Grimaldus one up, a bunch of points too. I mean, he should not cost 130 points. So
Yeah. So I think one of the things that like we've kind of narrowed down in, and a lot of lists are kind of focusing on. More recently, it's been more bodies. It's been the Sword Brethren, the Helbrecht combos, and that's more of the tabletop identity. There's lore-wise that people obviously play and will refuse to take things like shooting things or not. So I'm kind of curious on hearing what you guys feel like is what your play style is. So I typically try to do a little bit more of a well-rounded list of shooting elements, close combat elements, because I feel like that is, while we are knightly, we do prefer it. Even in the old 4th edition Codex, they specifically say, hey, the main weaponry is the bolter. And, they make references to ranged combat in it. So that's typically what I try to do. And even back in 4th edition, 5th edition, I did play Gunline Templars. They were very good at the time, amongst other things, drop pod Templars, etc. But which is another thing that I wish we still had access to. That would be the most fun, in my opinion. I think that is my identity for the Black Templars, is us just coming down in like millions of drop pods and just smashing the opponent. That's what I see when I see Black Templars.
I mean, that makes sense. We are a fleet-based chapter. So we would be, pretty good at that. The thing, though, is that given that, even though that we are, yes, a fleet-based chapter, that doesn't necessarily, to me, mean that we would be any better than anyone else at drop pod assault. And the reason is because, like, take the Crimson Fists, right? They have Rin's World. And it's not like they're always fighting on Rin's World. They are going off to help, the the other chapters may have a home world, but they're 99% of the time not fighting on that home world. They're fighting from a fleet. So I think drop pod, having that be a viable way to play, not necessarily just for Black Templars, but for Space Marines in general, I think would be good. And maybe with the new drop pod model, it's going to get new rules, obviously. They've kind of hinted at that. So hopefully that will change with that new model. So Pryor says... Pryor says, if the God Emperor didn't want me to shoot his enemies, he wouldn't have given me a holy bolt rifle. I agree. And it's kind of funny because this whole Black Templars hate guns thing sort of spawned out of 4th and 5th edition, where back then, if you were armed with a bolt pistol and a close combat weapon, aka a chainsword, you got an extra attack in melee. So you were always going to take that as Black Templar because you wanted the extra attack, which doubled your attacks because back then everybody just had one. So you really wanted that extra attack from that. So it sort of was more fan-based than any actual lore. And in fact, the 4th edition Codex even says the Black Templars are armed primarily with the Holy Bolter. Like, so... it's that's something that came about, that rose about because of the way players were playing the tabletop game, not any actual lore thing.
Yeah, I think it's people take their identity from the tabletop game itself, and rather than the lore. But um, and that's perfectly okay. Uh, Everyone has their own thing. You talked about in the past when you came into the game and what drew you to the Black Templars as you're flipping through that Codex and you're looking at the Lord and you're like, yep, I love this and this is what I want to play. And that was kind of like the same thing for me. Um, but I think the nail on the coffin was that at the time in third edition, sorry, I keep saying fifth edition, but third edition when I was starting is there really wasn't, other than Blood Angels, and I didn't really like the vampire vibe. There was no other chapter out there that was really like, hey, I want to have close combat Space Marines, and I knew I wanted to play Space Marines. They just back then I was very heavy into StarCraft, and I loved the Marines in there, and Space Marines basically look exactly the same. So uh, I kind of like that vibe, and I didn't necessarily want to shoot things, but I wanted to cut them down. And this was when they came out with Codex Armageddon, and I was like, "Yep, I'm a Black Templar player." Repainting everything black because when I first started, everything was blue. Everything was blue. Stripped
Well,
off all those decals and everything.
I didn't start till fourth, and in fourth, I went to the game store, and this was before they shrink wrapped codexes, so you could actually flip through the book and read the lore. And so I was flipping through the Black Templar book, and was liking what I was seeing, and then I read this paragraph from uh, the Sword Brethren entry, and it said, uh, they're the very image of a Baroque warrior knight. And I was like, well, this is what I'm buying. so, um, so yeah, because I love knights. Anything knights, I love, and that's why part of the reason why I love Black Templars. So I think we need to have a strong knightly theme, and I think our units reflect that. But I think we need to really in the codex, um, one, get some points cuts, and two, have rules that allow us to uh, get into close combat easier. Like, I don't know why GW is so afraid to give us advance and charge. I know, a lot of people want that. Um, it doesn't. Uh, it doesn't make sense to me why they're handing it out to literally everybody else, um, and I don't know why we're not getting it. So, including units that are way deadlier than anything we have, like banshees. Um, so, um, so yeah. Um, so with that being said, what do you want to see in the new codex, Bob?
If I were wish listing, because my guy has not really kind of given me anything in the last little bit, um, I would like to see Sword Brethren Terminators. Now, this is not based on anything I got previously. Um, that would be what I want. Um, I think it would be something unique that we could continue to have to feed off of the Sword Brethren theme, and that's really I think something that we can play into. They haven't really done a ton of stuff into the Terminators. There's a little bit, obviously. Death Guard got their Destro, Dark Angels got their like unique Terminator-ish people, as well as the Space Wolves. It looks like they're getting a little bit. So
Well, they've always already
I don't
had
think
their own sort of unique brand of Terminators, at least in like the flexibility of how they take them, which is interesting, and that they can even take Terminator models in non-Terminator units, like the battle leaders, I think they're called. Um, so, um, so yeah, I think I agree. I think we need. I would love to see a Terminator assault squad, Sword Brethren Terminator assault squad, because at least in the old codex, the original codex, That was something that Sword Brethren trained specifically in was, they're no longer responsible for neophytes, but instead they're training to use the Terminator armor. So I would definitely like to see that. Um, I think what I would like to see is because, as we've seen with our Wrathful Procession detachment, is that without vows, like, we really kind of fall flat almost. It just doesn't feel as like vows are so integral to Black Templars history. Um, I don't I don't know how we can go about not having vows in multiple other detachments and still feel like Black Templars. You know what I mean? Um, so something that would be interesting is if they changed our army rules so that we didn't have oath and instead gave us vows. Uh, because you think about it, now Wrathful Procession still needs a lot of work in my opinion. Um, but if you just add vows to it, it's instantly a lot better than it is currently. So that could be something that they could do to really make us unique, and that we'd be the only Space Marine chapter with our own army rule. Um, what are your thoughts, Bob?
Yeah, I think it would be cool lore wise to actually see something like that, to be able to give the vows more impact on the battlefield. Obviously, they do have slight rules. You get something different depending on what it is, um, but they really only have impact in one detachment, obviously, Righteous Crusaders. And if they were the army rule, um, for each detachment, I think that would be really kind of cool to be able to have that.
Yeah.
I would even, like you mentioned, be okay with losing oath. Right now, we're not getting the full benefit of it for
Anyway. Yeah.
anyway. So at this point, it's kind of like whatever. We get the rerolls to hit on one thing, but let's be honest, most of us are building that into our list anyway to get those rerolls without having oath, to give us some redundancy so that we don't have to really focus on it. And the armies that really did well for a little bit of time before we got nerfed again, they took nothing and they leaned into 0 Black Templars units so that they could get the +1 to wound, and went into the rerolls to wound. So I think that you either need to really focus into that, and you're not playing Black Templars now, or you kind of go into the opposite direction and kind of give us something unique, and that would be a way of giving us something unique. Because let's be honest, Games Workshop has been coming out with Codex after Codex after Codex over these last few years in 10th edition, and each of them have 5, 6 detachments each, and all of those different sets of rules need something unique with them, plus all the Grotmis. So there's a lot of rules that they have to come up with and playtest and balance against each other and all these things without making it too strong.
Yeah.
Which is always a possibility, that we come out of the gate and we're just so ridiculously strong that we're going to be the next Eldar, and we're going to get banned from tournaments because we're too strong.
Well,
But
yeah. I mean, I think vows would be a really great army rule for us. They would have to, I think, change. I would like to see a change to Abhor the Witch, because it's really weak. Um, Maybe instead of like anti-psyker 4+, which I think is what it should be 3+. Um, would help us out a lot more. Um, and give us something that, because like there's a lot of armies that use psychers, but in order to get the most out of that vow, you really are like Thousand Sons or Grey Knights are the only ones you're ever going to even consider it against, because everything's a psyker. Um, so make the buffs more, more less focused on the units that you're attacking and just the fact that your opponent has psychers in their army. That way, if they have like two psychers in their army, you can have a benefit that benefits your whole army that isn't, so focused on like just psyker units. You know what I mean? I think that would be a better, because right now, let's be honest, people are not choosing that vow basically ever, except maybe against Grey Knights.
Yeah, there's so much better.
I'd rather
Hot
have
take.
sustained hits, or I'd much rather have sustained hits or lethal against virtually everything than a few like niche cases of psyker stuff. So yeah, I think that it would be, they need to tweak it so that it's more universal and less focused on, does your opponent have psychers in their units, or not, like,
Yeah,
are their units are like psyker units versus they have psychers in their army. So
I think a good way. Oh, excuse me. A good way of making sure that would work is going a callback to some of our older rules in fourth edition, which unfortunately have been stolen by other armies now. And I know they've kind of adjusted it since 10th edition's come out in the different data slates. But if their opponent has any Zerkers in their army, you get shot, you blood surge. That would be a good way of making it worthwhile.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I
so that
agree.
way, if anything shoots you, if they have a Zerker in their army at all, then that way you're getting something out of it.
Yep,
Even if you don't have the offensive bonuses, then you get the movement.
yep,
So it would be something worthwhile to take, and I think that would be something that we could use.
yeah.
Give a movement ability on some of the vows, and that would play into the righteous. Uh, oh, oh man, I
Righteous
can't
Zeal.
forget the rule. Is it
Righteous Zeal.
Righteous Crusaders or Righteous Zeal? Yeah,
Righteous
that's
Zeal
what it was.
was the old rule. Yeah.
Yeah, the fourth edition.
Something else now. Um, Obviously, that would drastically change what Righteous Crusaders detachment looks like. It would have to get a whole new rule, and you'd want to. You could still have it focused on being vow centric, but I think some of those strats would, you'd want to disperse into other detachments. To be honest, I think Wrathful Procession needs to be reworked. I know it was allegedly made with the Codex in mind, but unless we're getting some kind of massive army buff as far as data sheets and army rule, uh, Wrathful Procession just is not. Um, it's just, it doesn't have the offensive punch that it needs, and it has unnecessary restrictions, which I don't understand. The movement part is great. I think the invul needs to be in melee too. I don't understand why it's shooting only. I think the strength is okay, but it needs something else too. Give us an extra attack as well. I don't know why they're so hesitant. Meanwhile, like, Blood Angels have like what, +2 attacks and +1 strength on the charge in one of their detachments. Like, come on, why are you so afraid to give us something good? I think the strat that lets you change your litany or whatever, I think it should add a litany instead of changing it. I think the Feel No Pain one shouldn't just be against mortal wounds. And then we need something offensive. The reroll ones and ignore mods should give us like some AP or something. Like, we need some extra damage punch in that detachment, and we're not getting it. And I don't understand why two of the best enhancements are locked to marshals and castellans only. So that detachment needs a lot of tweaks, in my opinion, in order to be competitive. So yes, and devout push needs to be able to let us engage. Like, come on, everybody has that now. Yanari is ridiculous. They stole our devout push, our old righteous zero rule. You know, world eaters have
It's
it.
okay if we get it back.
It's okay if we get it back. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So yeah, I overall I agree with that. I feel like the Wrathful Recession has a place. Guess we played some games about it, and we kind of talked about our thoughts around it. Has some play. Its damage potential is not great though. Um,
Which is the issue. That's the big issue
yeah,
with it.
but I mean, casually, it can do well-ish. It does play the secondary game pretty well, but top tables, you need to be able to kill something um, if if you need to, and it just doesn't have the oomph to do that. Where Righteous Crusaders, you can smash into anything if you need to with the appropriate unit. So
Yeah.
now, I think that's something that we could definitely see. There were some comments earlier about some units that potentially could be popping up because we're likely only to get one, right? Uh, Sword Brethren Redemptors was mentioned. I think that one would be
It'd be neat. We're not known
kind
for
of
our
cool.
dreadnoughts, though.
I think we do have a couple lore ones, but they're box knots.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
there
couldn't
was.
name them though.
Yeah, there was one class of dreadnought back when dreadnoughts, regular dreadnoughts, did not have multiple close combat arms, except for the Blood Angels one, the Blood Talons or whatever. It was a Durandal Dread, I think is what it was called. Um,
They also had the
but
Furioso.
that's what I mean, the Furioso one. Yeah. Um, but yeah, we had our own. In the lore, we had our own version, never on the tabletop.
Yeah, so I think the vows would be a great place to go with the Codex. But it makes us a little bit interesting though because we only have four vows, and the track record is 5 or 6 detachments per book. So uh, obviously, I haven't seen
Well,
any leaks or anything for the latest.
the Marine books have been 3 detachments in the book. So it would be if that were the case, like let's just hypothetically assume for a second, yeah, they change our army rule to vows, we lose oath. So Righteous Crusaders then has to become something different, right? Because
Yep.
it's focused on vows, and I guess it could still be slightly focused on vows, but I think some of those strats you'd want to incorporate into other detachments too. Um, then we'd get 2 more on top of that, and then plus Wrathful Procession, so for a total of 4. So
Yep.
I don't think we're getting any more than 3. I would be surprised, because none of the other Marine Blood Angels, Dark Angels, none of them got more than 3. So
I think it would be a missed opportunity to play into our player base, which is very large, very large, even now. Because I feel like there's a little bit of a dip in attention in uh, Warhammer 40k because it's kind of a lull before the supposed 11th edition. Because the rumors are growing that there is something being created for 11th edition. Hopefully, it's just a little bit of an update rather than a full scale reset again.
yeah,
Um, I think we needed this reset. So there was a lot of people that were like, no, no, but I think we really needed it this time
yeah,
around to get us kind of squared away and just button up some of the rules and get that stuff out. But that attention to the game has been understandably less. People are doing things and they're getting towards the end of their Codex run. There hasn't been a lot of new stuff for our chapter in quite some time.
nope, just nerf after nerf after nerf after nerf.
So I feel like we've got this is a good opportunity to bring some excitement into the game, get a new unit into the game that's not just a character. Please don't be just a character because that's not going to bring people back. Give us some Terminators, and then people are going to be happy, and they're going to want to be throwing Terminators around. And I'm sorry to my commission painter if that happens, because you're going to
Well,
be painting Terminators for a while.
and I'm certain at some point that we are getting uh, just generic new assault terminators as well, resculpts on those. So um, if we got our own terminators and then generic Space Marines got the resculpted assault terminators, it would be a good day for Terminator fans. I'm talking to you, Crazy Tacos. So
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them mixing into the Ministerium units. I do like that anesthetic. I was a little bit disappointed when they did away with allies,
I mean,
because I
they're
did like the
sort of back in the form of you can take some of those units in the Inquisition stuff. Like you can take sisters in a Black Templar army through the Inquisition book now. So
yep.
you don't get
Um,
miracle dice or anything like that. It's literally just whatever their data sheets are, which I don't know if it's worth it, but thematically, if you wanted to go for it, you could.
yeah, I always liked the sisters. I just never picked them up because I can't. I'm afraid of painting them. Because I always helmet all of my people, and skin tones are terrible for me. And then getting the hair right is just like, oh, nope,
Skin
nope.
tones aren't scary. You
Yes, they
just
are.
need
They're
no,
terrible.
they're not. No, you're not. You just need Reaper's skin tone triad paints. Amazing. So easy. Best skin tones there are.
And I do like the different priests and the Inquisition. I like the idea of that. So I would be okay with something like that. Even one of the detachments playing into it, so I would be okay with that. But then there's the people that are the lore, really focus on the lore, and obviously we know what happened on Armageddon uh, with the Celestial Alliance. So that kind of puts a damper on that a little bit. So
I
yeah, that would be
mean,
one way we could go for something. But I think overall, I think we need something in our detachments that obviously you kind of touched on it a little bit. Is we need movement, we need durability, and we need something that's going to be a damage buff. I don't honestly care too much if it's ranged or close combat. It just needs to be one or the other in the detachment with those other things. So I think that's what's really going to make us competitive and will play into our identity, however they decide to do it, whether it be in a function of being mechanized, which I think would be a cool way of playing it, whether it be horde based, I would be okay with that, or even just like the all comers, kind of like how Righteous Crusaders is. But those are the three things I think we need to have it. Whether it be blood surges or extra movement or even advance a charge, which I think is interesting to note that a lot of the detachments that have had it are starting to lose it. It's becoming less and less. So I'm wondering if
I don't
that's
know. They
just
just
a
gave it to Eldar.
well, they did, and then they
Like
took it
I
away
think
from Death Guard.
Banshees have it. Yeah, Death
Or
Guard.
no, they took it away from the not the Death Guard, but the World Eaters, except for
Oh,
the Berserkers.
right. Which is, I
So
mean, still that's still they're gonna be spamming Berserkers and World Eaters because they nerfed Angron. So something I'd like to see too. This is very minor. Can we please have a real sword bro uh, leading the Primaris Crusaders? Like, I'm tired of this Timu sword bro, who's just like, oh, I only have 2 wounds, and oh, I only have 3 attacks. Like, can we just? Is it that much? Would it be that difficult to give him a 3rd wound and an extra attack? Like, come on, come on, and some options besides a power sword. Like it would be cool to give him a thunderhammer or a chainsword or something. Maybe not lightning claws, although that would be dope. But you know, please at least let him take a chainsword. So,
Yep.
um, so yeah, I think those are all good things. Something that would be kind of interesting, sort of how like Space Wolves can take these pseudo character. They're not really characters, but they can attach Wolfguard battle leaders to other units. It would be neat if we could attach neophytes to other units, like I don't know, up to 4 something, right? Um, you can attach 1 to 4 neophytes to a intercessor squad or
Yeah, that'd be
whatever.
kind of interesting.
It would be kind of cool to be able to do that, and then now you still get that Crusader squad aesthetic without it being a Crusader squad. I think that would be kind of cool. I don't know whether we would want to do that on certain units, but it would at least be a thematic fun option to do so. Maybe if they brought something to the squad that what made it worthwhile,
Like Scout,
like Scout. Yeah, exactly.
put a neophyte on every one of your units and it gains Scout. That would be pretty fun.
I think if you were going to give them Scout, you'd have to there'd be attacks. You'd have to add like 3 neophytes or something like that. Which I'd be fine
Hey,
with.
so that neophyte makes all that ceramite really silent in the but yes.
But yeah. Oh, and
Um,
please give our leaders, our bespoke leaders, Scouts. Why is that so hard? Can we please have a Marshal and a Castellan with Scouts so that they pair well with our specific units? I'd also like to see them get uh, a completely different rule than the same as the generic one from the other books. But I know that's not going to happen because Blood Angels didn't get that. Their Blood Angel captain is just exactly the same with some different options.
okay, so I'm going to shift gears a tiny bit here. So it's still on the same topic, same on the Black Templars identity, but I think it's something that we have to talk about. And I think it's very, very divisive around the community. And that is the Emperor's Champion.
Ah,
So
yes.
the Emperor's Champion
This
and
topic.
how it should be conveyed on the tabletop. So I've talked to a few people here and there, on what I feel the Emperor's Champion should be. Kind of give the too long don't read version here. I think he should still be a unit leader. I think that is something that is important to the lore and based on what he is. Yes, he does go after champions. He does do his own thing, but very clearly in the lore, he is a piece that is inspiring to everything around him. And I think that best is conveyed when he is with a unit being or leading a unit. But I think he needs to give a rule to his unit. Ideally, that would be something like a Feel No Pain or an offensive bonus of some kind, but I would even be satisfied with something like an immunity to battle shock or something because, hey, he's leading from the front, he's going for this. Even if you kept all the same rules with him, just give him immunity to battle shock. And I would be fine with him. 100%.
Yeah.
Because then you can have that unit and you can just guarantee that unit is not going to ever get battle shocked and you're never going to lose its ability to objective secure something. And I would be fine with that. Just something to give what the Emperor's Champion is doing for everything around him. And that's what I feel. I don't buy into the he needs lone op. I just don't. I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
lone op is a good rule set for what he is on the battlefield, in my opinion.
I agree. Um, if you look at the other lone op units, uh, they are more durable. They're faster, and they have more wounds. And they have other abilities that help them uh, be better. Like melee lone op characters uh, need more than like because they're gonna be within 12 inches of something, and they're gonna a stat line like the Emperor's Champion is gonna get his ass shot off the board. Uh, so I don't like lone up for him either. Um,
Yeah, if you buff all the stats, you know what I mean? If you make him like tough 5 or tough 6 and 2+ saves
six
and
wounds.
involt all kinds of different things, or if you do what like the assassins have, I would be okay with him being with lone up. Something to make sure he gets there. I would be okay with that. But
Yeah,
as he currently is,
like Wolfwood mentioned Lucius the Eternal, who does have lone op. Although, really, you're only ever going to use Lucius Eternal's lone op when he's not leading flawless blades, or I should say when the squad dies, right?
yeah,
But Lucius the Eternal has an 8-inch move. He's tough 5. He has the same 2 up 4 up. He's got 6 wounds instead of 5. Um, and then he also has a 5 up feel no pain. So he's way more durable than the Emperor's Champion is. Um, so it's really important that uh, lone ops, especially melee lone ops, because Lucius doesn't have any ranged weapons, um, have those additional stats. So honestly, I think the Emperor's Champion needs fights first because that's his job is to kill stuff in melee, specifically other characters, right? Um, so I think, and even if he gets a points bump, I'm fine. Make him 85 points. I don't care. Give him fights first, and then I think, like you said, make his unit immune to battle shock would be awesome. Give him those two rules, bump his points a bit, um, and I think that makes him fine. But I don't think lone op is something that he needs or wants or should have. That's just I know some of people feel differently about it, but he's not durable enough uh, to really warrant that. Now,
yeah, and I get it. I get the lore standpoint on it, and I 100% understand.
yeah,
I just gameplay wise, right now, I don't think it's just feasible for him to do it.
no,
If he stays the same with on up, I just don't think it's viable. Because he wants to be close to the enemy, and once he gets in that 12-inch range, bam, he's
yeah,
gone.
yeah.
So
So speaking of stat increases, this is something that you and I have talked about before. Uh, Space Marines suffer right now from the fact that GW refuses to give, except for a handful of units, namely Terminators and Gravis, uh, anything beyond tough 4 2 wounds, which is ridiculous. If you look at other armies, uh, their elite units have better stats. So even if GW doesn't want to give Stern Guard, Vanguard Vets, or whatever a better toughness or a better more wounds or whatever, um, at the very least, please give the characters something like the chapter masters of these chapters. These are epic heroes that have lived for centuries. They should be tougher than normal Space Marines. Like chapter masters should be tough 5. Helbrick should have 7 or 8 wounds. Like, give them more wounds and more toughness on these, characters, um, because like maybe not the Emperor's Champion because he's just some bloke that had a vision and is now suddenly the world's greatest sword fighter. But like Helbrick should be tough five. Grimaldus should be tough five. You know, the what's his name? The other chapter masters like the Raven Guard guy should be like these epic heroes for Space
Hmm.
Marines shouldn't all be tough four, unless they have special armor or whatever. So I think that's something that needs to change to help Space Marine characters in general. Is make them a little better. Give them some more wounds. Give them some more toughness because they die really fast. I
Yeah.
don't know what your thoughts are.
And I agree with that. And lore wise, they've been around for a long time, right? They're some of the longest living Space Marines in their respective chapters.
Hmm.
They're alive for a reason. They're tough. They know how to survive. So that should be reflected in the stats. And I think
Yeah,
lumping them in with the same stat lines as just the
basic
average
Marine. Yeah,
newly raised neophyte to initiate, I think, is a mistake. Other than the wounds, wounds are a dime a dozen. I mean,
so easy to go through wounds. Everything is damage 2 and 3 now. So wounds are not like you said. That's not a way to increase toughness. Like yeah, it increases their toughness a little bit, but they need something to like negate the ability for higher strength stuff to just easily wound them. In my opinion.
yeah, and I mean, even just going up to a toughness 5 is just a slight increase mathematically to due to all the weapons, the strengths out there,
Yeah.
but it's just enough to that it's okay. You're not rolling on fours on everything or threes on everything. It's maybe it's 75% of the things are now rolling on
Yeah. Yeah.
fours and threes
Um,
instead of
Ar-
95.
right. Arcadius says the bane of Space Marines is the change in the AP system. You can't make power armor shine like it used to with minus X AP. 100%. Now, on the one hand, like it's nice that like the things that may previously have just gone straight through your armor, um, now you get a save against. But in general, like stuff that was AP1 in, well, back then it was called AP5, right? Like bolters were AP5 back in 4th edition. What that meant, for those of you who don't know, the way the AP system used to work was if the AP equaled or beat your armor save, you got no save at all. So if you had a 5-up save and you got hit by an AP5 thing, you got no save. So bolters penned guardsmen, they got no save against bolters. Space Marines had a 3 plus save. So that means that you needed AP3, which was like stuff like las cannons, was AP3, in order to beat Space Marine armor. And that made Terminator armor all that much better. Now, do we need to go back to that? I don't know. But the fact that everything under the sun is AP2 and 3 now means that Space Marine armor 3 plus save means nothing. It's not special anymore. It hasn't been in a long, long time. And that's part of the problem, with the durability of Space Marines is they used to be tough four with a 3 plus save. Now, granted, they only had one wound back then, but tough four with a 3 plus save was elite. It was tough to get through because you got that 3 plus save against 75%, 80% of the guns in the game. Now, you rarely get that 3 plus save. Only against like the crappy chaff weapons are you getting that save, which completely defeats the purpose of the Space Marines. Like it just makes them like cannon fodder.
Yeah, and I think that there is a tedious way that they could potentially fix that problem is they could go through a review of the game and add an asterisk onto something, the weaponry wise, that they say, okay, this asterisk means that it does affect 3 plus armor saves. And then, so if it's a 3 plus armor save, then you take that -2 on it. If it doesn't have the asterisk, then it's not strong enough to get through this particular 3 plus armor save. So you take your 3 plus, even if it has an AP -1 or AP -2. It's not going to penetrate that particular armor. And going through and just cutting. So like a chainsword. I know that a chainsword is, theoretically supposed to be AP -1, but it's it's not going to be cutting through ceramite
No.
armor. I know that we have like different games that show that it does. It's just not.
Yeah.
So why should a chainsword negate ceramite armor? It's a chainsaw. We're not a tree. We are basically a walking tank.
Yeah.
So why should that cut through?
Yeah.
So I mean things like that.
So the other
I,
thing too, that's gonna be a hot take, is I know everybody hated it and said it was broken, but I liked Armor of Contempt, the old
that could
rule.
be a way to fix it too.
That like with Armor of Contempt, like that made it felt like my Marines were like they used to be, like they were more durable again. That helped a lot. Now, I don't. They handed it out to literally everything on it. Like guard tanks got it, sisters got it, like everything. Like they just handed it out way too much. I think that should be a unique rule to Space Marines only. Like sisters don't get it, guard doesn't get it, custodes don't get it. They already got a 2+4+. They don't need freaking Armor of Contempt. Um, I think it should be unique to Space Marines. And yeah, it's a pain to calculate, but I really liked that rule and I didn't feel like it was oppressive. It's not like my Marines were invincible. They still died in droves, but they felt more durable. It felt like the elite Space Marine force that should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought that was a kind of an ingenious way of addressing the rule. And 10th edition was supposed to be, hey, everything is going to be less strong, less lethal, and that's why
Less
they're doing
lethal.
away with it.
Less
And then
lethal. Yeah, right.
we found out that quickly wasn't the case with Eldar. And even with that being in the game, some of these codexes just eat through Marines like it's nothing. It's just, let's get my bowl of Cheerios and see how many we can go through. And that's one of the reasons why our Black Tide list was so good. It's just like, even then, you just can't kill enough of them
Yeah.
to get through the thing. But then they're like, okay, well, since that's the case, let's make sure that you can't take an extra 20 to 30 more of them. So
So
so that's
the
kind
other
of
thing too is like, and I know that the lore never equals tabletop, right? But
yep.
I can easily run in a competitive list. I can run like 75 Marines. Like 75 Marines, that's almost a company. Like you deploy 75 Marines to a battle, like especially one that's the size theoretically of um, uh, the battle that you play on the tabletop, right? Because the battle on the tabletop is supposed to be like a microcosm of like a larger engagement, right? 75 Marines would decimate probably 75 to 80% of the opposing factions units in the lore. Now, obviously, you know, we don't want that. But I'm running more Marines doesn't like I would rather have more durable Marines and like be running like 40 Marines, right? And have them be more durable and harder to kill. I think part of the problem is the fact that GW introduced custodes into the tabletop, and so now because they have to be like so much better than everybody else, and be like the elite, like let's run three of them in a whole army. You know what I mean? Like that put a ceiling on where Space Marines can go as far as durability, and I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah,
But
that's a good
that's
point.
just my
Is
2 cents.
I think that that does kind of damper it a little bit because then they're going to be okay. Well, then they're too close to what custodes need to be, and you can't really touch that. So obviously they have tons of lore, especially in recent years, where they're saying like custodian kills 50 Marines without even breaking a
Right,
sweat,
which is so stupid.
and it's like, are the you know it still chased me the wrong way when that one custodian is on the bridge of that gray
Oh
shield
yeah.
and they're reinforcing, and like
Brazen
it's like
Drakes
what?
did nothing wrong.
Yeah, yeah. It's like three custodians kill an entire
No, it was
chapter.
one. It was one dude killed like an entire 10-man squad of Primaris plus their captain. It's stupid. And now I've heard that there are other lore, like we always point to that one, but I've heard there are other lore pieces where custodians aren't nearly as Mary Sue as that, but that was just like the ultimate Mary Sue example. It's ridiculous. White 55 says less rerolls lasted about 5 minutes. Why are we surprised 40k became super lethal again? I mean, we're not. But it's annoying because, you know, at the beginning of the edition, the codexes that were coming out were pretty balanced. I mean, in fact, a bunch of them were like, you know, sort of nerfs from their index versions because stuff was too oppressive or whatnot. Um, so, and I mean, to be fair, like 40k has never been more balanced than it is right now.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, you look at the win rates, and like the outliers are like a couple percentage points um, above the Goldilocks zone. It's certainly way better than it was in old editions with old GW where there was no communication, there was no FAQs, there was no balance updates. So, um, you know, but that being said, I just I want Space Marines to feel like Space Marines. You know, I want to feel like durable, and I don't want to be Custodes level of durability. But I don't, you know, I don't want them to feel like cannon fodder either, which is what they feel like right now.
yeah. We're almost to the level of orc, and we can't even take as many of them.
Yeah.
so, so I agree that, and that kind of fits into our identity. So that's something that we kind of wanted to talk about on as far as that goes. Um, I do want to clarify our position is we're not being negative Nancy here on this because I agree with Alex. So like the game has never been better than it has been, except for maybe some short periods of time and maybe fifth edition. But competitively wise, everything is mostly balanced. They address issues fairly quickly,
Compared to
for the
what it
most
used to
part.
be. Even
Yeah, oh
like
yeah,
back in Eighth and Ninth, they address issues much faster now. Although Eldar, don't get me started on Eldar. I don't know why it took them 3 nerfs to fix that faction. Um, but in any case, yeah, no, I mean, I think 10th edition is by far my favorite edition. Uh, they've improved ever since 8th edition, basically, when they, you know, new GW. I call it new GW because it was when I think there was some sort of leadership change, and GW decided to be more on social media and more open with what's coming. Like, because if you, like, for those of you who weren't around in the old days, GW was like complete radio silence. Like, suddenly there'd be a release, and then everyone would get excited and buy a bunch of new models and whatever. And then it would just be like, like radio silence. Like, there was no FAQs, there was no fixing. Like, armies would go multiple editions without a codex. Not every army got a codex. Um, you know, some armies like Eldar, Tau would be broken for years on end. So, you know, it's 10th is definitely my favorite edition. It's the best edition. I do like how they have. I did like ninth, but the stratagem bloat and like some of the there was just too much stuff. So I think 10th cleaned that up a lot while still retaining a good amount of the flavor. So yeah, don't get us wrong. You know, I like 10th. I think it's a great addition, but it's not without its flaws.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely there, and we're one of the last chapters, or even I just say chapter, but like factions to get a codex. So you know that's going to play into a lot of the wish listing here. Um, so that's one of the things that kind of taking the opportunity to do in the few months beforehand, because we don't
Yeah.
for once don't have any information on what's coming. So we get to play the the actual, hey, what's coming.
Yeah.
One uh, Downtown Stabby says, my headcanon maintains that the Sigismund would wreck the average custodian. Controversial, I realize, but not to be dissuaded. So I say to that, there's lore that Sigismund actually was a challenge to the Primarchs in some of their battles. Obviously, they could stomp them if they really
So
needed to, but
the the book where Sigismund died, he fights it, Abaddon kills him. And literally the only reason Abaddon survived that fight is because of plot armor. Is because he had to survive to make it into the 40k universe. Because it was during like the scouring or whatever. But it is, if you don't want to read that book, that's fine. If you just go read that excerpt, it's awesome. Like Sigismund got the most amazing death that you could ask for, and he basically almost like brought Abaddon to within an inch of his life. It was crazy. He would absolutely wreck a custodian, no doubt in my
yeah.
mind. This is Abaddon with all the power of the chaos gods infused in him. He would wreck a custodian, in my opinion.
Wasn't he 1,500 years old too?
Something ridiculous, yeah. It was crazy. So
Yeah. I mean, old man Space Marine is like still at the peak of his skills.
yeah,
So yeah, he could take him. So
yeah. He buried the black sword, the hilt to the hilt in Abaddon, and even as he's dying, he's still trying to push it further in. It's awesome. It's so awesome. So go read that excerpt if you haven't. It's really cool. Really shows. I think ADB wrote that book, and he really did justice for Sigismund. So, like I said, Abaddon would not have survived that fight if he had not been an existing character in 40k.
it's kind of funny that you mentioned ADB because he's done interviews since then, and he's like, "Do you have any regrets on anything you've written?" And he's actually said he's regretted, and this is me paraphrasing, so don't if
Yeah.
he watches this, don't quote me exactly. I'm sorry. It he alluded to regretting writing Armageddon because we've taken everything so literal when
Well,
he
it
wrote
was
it.
it was specifically in reference to the line from Hell's Reach where Grimalda says something about like his like he has the tabard and he goes the heraldic cross stands proud on my chest where the Astartes of lesser chapters wear the Emperor's Aquila. And he says, "We do not wear his symbol. We are his symbol." And like he just thought it was a cool line. And meanwhile, all of us Black Templar player are like scraping the Aquilas
File.
off. We're like, "We don't wear the Aquila. Give me the cross." Like, so, he's
We
like, "I
all
didn't
got
mean for you to
files
like.
out.
I didn't mean for you guys to do that. Like, but it's just funny. Yeah." So that's what he's referring to. I think there is that line in particular. So
Yep. So I thought that was kind of funny. So we have a question here. What do we think about the Imperial Fist Codex potential?
I don't think they're
I
getting one.
honestly don't think it's going to happen because they're their first founding. But I think that would be. I mean, it would be interesting, but it does bring up the thoughts of something else I was going to bring up is Dorn. So there has been rumors, not from us, obviously, but there's been some rumors coming up of what particular Primarchs are going to be coming back soon. Obviously, there was talk that there could potentially be a Primarch coming back with the Spaceos, but there's been no leaks of that being the case. But, they're bringing back Primarchs, obviously. So
Yeah.
how would we play into having Dorn back into the game if he were to come back? That's an interesting thought. Obviously they're Imperial Fist, so I'm assume that
We wouldn't be
he
able to
would have
run him,
rules.
to be honest. Yeah.
He would be like Gilliman, but it'd be kind of cool thing if we could integrate him into some of our lists.
Yeah, I doubt that we would be able to be perfectly honest. Mainly because, like, Ultramarines, um, it's now we're the only faction that has its own rules that isn't a first founding chapter. So I don't know how that would work. However, um, at least in the lore bits, like where they talk about, like, in the Space Marine Codex, they're like, if you paint your armies this way, these characters are part of the parent chapter, not blah blah blah. So I would be surprised if Dorn came back. I would be surprised if BT could run them. So
Hey, Alex, do you got a page number?
oh, for
Get on the
white
Black
white.
Legion.
Literally, if you just search, uh, yeah, if you just search, what was my search criteria? Sigismund death 40K book. The first thing that should come up is a Reddit post that has the entire excerpt about how he dies. It's the
good,
whole thing. It's
good
it's
job, Reddit,
amazing.
for retyping it.
Thank you, Reddit. Yeah. So it's got the whole excerpt in there. It's really really good.
Then you could skip all the rest of that chaos stuff. You don't want to
Skip
see that
all the
anyway.
rest of it. Yeah. So. So yeah. So we got a few more minutes. Anything you guys want to chime in about? Questions, whatnot.
I really want to see if we're gonna talk more wish list. Hey, honestly, that's what this whole video has been kind of about. But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. To mostly use these as kind of like chat with you guys. But the thing that I want to see most in a new supplement is I want to see drop odds being viable. I want to see more than 3 in a detachment. That's what I want. Give
Honestly,
me a
like three
detachment
would
that
be
says
fine if they were actually viable. Like, let us charge from a drop pod. That's what I want to
exactly
be able to do.
detachment rules that play onto the drop pod. Suspend the 3, allow us to charge out of them, and give us a bonus for charging out of them, even better. And that's what I really want, to be able to bring drop pods back to Black Templars. Oh
You know what
yes,
I want?
sign me up.
Make the Land Raider Crusader great again. That's what I want. I want that unit to be viable. Um,
Better make a
so
hat.
yeah, I know, right? But yeah, because there was a time, way back when, we were the only chapter that could run them. Then they gave it to everybody. Then we were the only one that could take like some absurd amount. We could take it as a dedicated transport. So it was like, cool, we can have 6 of them. Not that anybody ever ran 6, but there was a time when running 2 Land Raider Crusaders was competitive. I know because I have 2 painted Land Raider Crusaders for that very purpose. Um, so make the Crusader great again, even if it's like has to be Black Templar specific and the regular Codex one is still poopy. Whatever, that's fine. Give us some reason why ours is better because we invented the damn thing. So it should be better. Give us some AP. Give us some special rule for it that makes it worth taking. Uh,
Blessed armor ignores
Blessed
all
armor.
AP.
That would be amazing, but that would be ridiculous. Um, but I mean, Blessed armor. Just give it a 4-up invul. Blessed hull. That was the rule. We actually had a
Yeah,
rule
blessed
called
hull.
Blessed hull, and I
That's
forget
what it
what it
was.
was. Um, but it was pretty cool.
It so like it in the 4th edition Codex, it had armor of 14 value all the way around, and if someone was using the Lance rule against it, which was Dark Eldar and Eldar, it could not be dropped down to 12, which is what the Lance rule did. So it just basically ignored that
Oh
rule.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there was a lot of Lance. Any upcoming tournament player interviews? What happened to battle reports? You guys got burned out with it? No, it's just our schedules could not align. for it. So we want to do more of both. We want to get our friend David. You guys know him as Orion on the Discord. Back on. He won a GT recently. Um, well, technically he ran non-Black Templars because he didn't have any Black Templar units in it to get the +1 to Oath. Um, all his stuff is painted Black Templars. He's going back to running Righteous Crusaders. So it's it was important for him to get that GT win. He got recognition from GW for it, and good things are going to come from that. So um, we want to get him back on just to kind of talk about the state of the meta, and where he thinks Black Templars should go, sort of like what we talked about in this video, but get his thoughts on it. So we're definitely going to have him on, hopefully soon. We do want to do more battle reports. It's been a hot minute since I've gotten a game of 40k in, so we're gonna try to schedule that. But yeah, both things we want to do. Um, Down Stabby,
Summer's coming, so
Am I still playing Space Marine 2? Yes. I actually spent like 3 hours yesterday playing Space Marine 2. Yeah, there's a lot to do in Space Marine 2 with all the prestige leveling to do. So I'm still playing that. Um, I'm gonna come out with a video on the Bulwark. I just finished maxing my Bulwark to Prestige 4 last week, so I need to make a video on that as well. I want to do some lore videos. I want to do another heraldry video. It's been forever since I did the last one, and just kind of because I still see that question pop up. I see a lot of stuff too. People will like find these fan made heraldry things with like helmet colors and whatever, and I'm like, that's not official. Like Black Templars officially don't use helmet colors, except for if you look at the old Terminators. Um, so um, so yeah, you guys considering some streams while painting minis and doing small talk? Yeah, I
I
used
would
to
be
do
open
that.
to this.
Yeah.
I would be open to doing that, honestly. But I commission all of my Black Templars now, simply because a theoretically I want to be a tournament player and I want them all to look consistent. So I'm a retail store manager, so I don't have a ton of time extra and two small kids. So I've reached out to Nameless Demon, who you may know off of our Discord. He does my painting. But I would be willing to do some other painting of other armies and things of that nature while I'm doing that. So I do like painting.
Yeah.
So I would be okay with that.
Yeah, and I actually have a setup, my desk set up for camera recording, streaming, my painting desk. I need to clean it up and get back to painting. It's also something I haven't been doing in a while. Thank you, Space Marine 2. So, yeah, that would be fun. To get back into doing that and share it with you guys. I have been working a little bit on, although I haven't posted a video on it in a while, the Blanche Templar project, where I was creating the some of the more iconic minis from the Blanche artwork. Mainly because GW gave us the one dude with the giant axe, Castellan Chunk, and they included the head of the other guy with the lightning claw in the upgrade pack. So that's what sort of spurred me on to be like, I should make like all these other dudes to go with Sir Castellan Chunk. So been working a little bit on that. I should do a video on that, like a short. I'm glad YouTube shorts are now 3 minutes, because 60 seconds is like not a lot of time to talk about something. So
Yeah.
um, look out for some more of that.
Yeah, and then a lot of our stuff is going to be evergreen until we get our Codex.
Yeah.
So one of those things is, because you may have seen it slow down a little bit because we don't want to talk about, hey, this is what this unit is and this is how great it is, because then 2 months down the road it's going to be changed and irrelevant. So we want to focus on things that are going to be relevant even after a codex is released. So that is going to mean that there's going to be more generic units that are going to be potentially be talked about. I think one of the main videos that's been asked a lot is how to utilize scouts and the reserves and picky uppy rules.
Yeah.
A lot of people are having some trouble with that. What's best ways of doing that? Obviously, playing games is one of those things that we can do
Yep.
to make sure that we are creating content for you, and it's just a good way to have banter with you guys, playing games, seeing what the different things are, and playing some of
Yep.
the new rules, so you can see some of that. How do you guys feel about those our format for our games? I know it is on TTS, and we don't do
Bob is
the
across the country
actual.
from me. I live in Georgia in the United States. Bob lives in Minnesota, which,
Yeah,
is basically the equivalent of, going from like Spain to Russia or something. Like it's really far away. Um, so yeah, he and I playing pretty much has to be TTS. It's also an easy way for us to record that content and get it out to you quickly. Versus like we don't have a professional studio with professional lights with multiple camera setups like some of these other
yep.
battle report places do. We just don't have the time or money for that. But while you guys kind of let us know what you think about that, let's answer some questions. William says, is your How to Start Black Templars vid from 9 months ago still relevant? Bought the Combat Patrol and Space Marine Codex yesterday. Yes, all those units are good. The Crusader Squad is good. Arm them for close combat. Intercessors are amazing. So really great there. Impulsors are still good. Everything in that box is worth taking.
Yep.
Arcadia says, how do you feel about the absence of force org charts? Don't miss them. Not even a little bit. Don't miss them. I love the flexibility to take what I want and make my own theme without being restricted to I have to take this and I have to take this and then I can only have three of this or only I mean everything is rule of three, right? But I can only have X number of this unit, so I don't miss it.
I am the opposite. I like puzzles, so like I don't mind having restrictions. Just like when we went into the new points systems, where we lost points for uh, different upgrades and weaponry, I actually kind of liked that
I liked
because
that too.
it was a little bit of a puzzle to try and fit different units into the points allotments, and that's something, the list building challenge that I like about the game. It's one of my favorite
Well,
parts of it is
and like
making things work.
I think that maybe there need to be some points things for upgrades because some weapons are just categorically better than others. But that being said, I like it because it's easier to balance from a gameplay perspective, right? You raise a unit 10 points and you were taking three of those units. Now, instead of just like, oh, I'll just drop this, upgrade off that unit, and now my list has functionally not changed, right? Because you were filling points with upgrades. Versus now, you have to drop a whole unit and rework your list, and it more drastically changes how you list build to make it so where you need to be. Um, it balances it better. It's easier to balance, in my opinion. Um, so um, so yeah. Also asked what paints are you using? Sticking with Citadel or something else? So I have some Citadel paints. I have a lot of Vallejo paints. I also have Duncan Rhodes' paint line. His paints are phenomenal. So really highly recommend those paints. I use Reaper paints as well. I have quite a variety, but mainly those four are what I'm using. Um, I basically buy the color I need regardless of who makes it. So if it's a specific Citadel color and I can't find a Vallejo that's comparable or something, then I'll buy the Citadel. So yeah.
Yep. I use Vallejo myself. That's my favorite. So those are the ones that I've used. But I do use the Games Workshop contrasts and washes for those that they're still in existence. I still have some pots of those.
GW's
So those
technical
are the ones
paints are
I use.
very good. Like contrast is good. I like contrast as a tool, not as a replacement for painting with layers.
Yep.
So I like that as a tool. Their other technical paints are really good. Their metallics are very, very good in my opinion. The biggest issue I have with GW paints is the paint pots suck. I hate paint pots. Um, so,
You got to
but yeah,
transfer them over into the drip bottles.
you lose paint doing. I don't know. I don't like that. I hate doing that because then I gotta buy the bottles. It's too much work. So, um, but yeah,
um,
Duncan's paints amazing. Check them out.
uh, Arcadia's kind of followed up as mostly as a means to balance skewed lists. So the rule of three mostly takes care of this. The one thing that doesn't get taken care of is the two troops requirement. I do think that there should be a requirement for two troops in every list, but that's just me. But most troops are being taken in
I'd
a lot of lists.
I'd rather be incentivized to take troops, the old troops choices, or now their battle line, because they're good, not because I have to. That's that's a better way. I should want to take it because it's good, not because I have to. That's my thought. All right. Well, it is 10 o'clock, guys. Really appreciate everyone joining us today. A lot of great interaction. I want to thank our Patreon subscribers and our YouTube members, one of which has joined us today, White55. Thank you for supporting us. You guys, if you want to support the channel, help us make more of this content. We've got a great Patreon and YouTube membership. A lot of great benefits with those. Patreon is patreon.com/implausible nature. Check us out. If you're not already in our Discord, definitely check out our Discord. We have a lot of great discussions going on every day, and fun shenanigans as well. Definitely check us out there. And until next time, keep on crusading.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day, guys.